Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the often confusing world of public companies. Today we're diving into Longeveron Inc. And let's just say they've picked a very interesting way to raise some cash. So what is going on here is Longeveron Incorporated is filing a current report, a Form 8. This is basically a heads up to investors about significant events that have happened. Think of it as a breaking news alert for the business world. Longeveron is a company that is working on developing new treatments for diseases. They're focusing on things like heart conditions in children and Alzheimer's disease. It is pretty high stakes stuff. Now, the big news in this filing is that Longeveron has entered into what is called an at-the-market offering agreement. Think of this as a flexible way for the company to sell its stock directly to the public over time. Whenever the market conditions are right, they've partnered with a financial firm called H.C. Wainwright & Co. to handle these sales. This means they're going to be selling shares of their class a common stock. This is the everyday stock that most people would buy if they wanted to invest in the company. The filing mentions that the total value of stock they can sell through this program is currently around $10.7 million. This is a pretty common strategy for companies, especially those in development stages, to have access to funds as needed rather than trying to raise a large amount all at once. What is interesting is that Longeveron gets to control the parameters of these sales. They decide how many shares to sell, when to sell them, if there are any limits on daily sales, and of course a minimum price. This gives them a lot of flexibility. And it is also worth noting that Longeveron isn't forced to sell any shares. They can suspend or even terminate the agreement if they decide it is not the right time or if market conditions aren't favorable. Now, for their services, H.C. Wainwright & Company will get a commission. It is set at 3.0% of whatever they sell. So if they sell $1 million worth of stock, Wainwright gets $30,000. Pretty standard for this kind of deal. Beyond the commission, Longeveron will also reimburse Wainwright for legal fees and other expenses related to setting up this agreement, up to a certain amount. So there are costs involved in getting this program rolling. This at the market offering will continue until they either sell the full $10.7 million worth of stock, or either party decides to end the agreement. It is designed to be a flexible funding stream. So what will they do with the money raised? Longeveron plans to use these proceeds for the continued development of their main experimental drug, laromestrocel. This drug is being tested for serious conditions like hypoplastic left heart syndrome, a severe heart defect in newborns, as well as Alzheimer's disease and a type of heart failure in children. They'll also use the funds for getting regulatory approvals for buildings and equipment and general company operations. This really shows where their priorities lie, directly in getting their treatments to market. Now, like most filings, there is a section about forward-looking statements. This is essentially a legal disclaimer. It is them telling everyone that some of the things they talk about are based on expectations and predictions, not guaranteed facts. They're basically saying, we hope this happens, but we can't promise it will. They specifically mention that these statements could be affected by risks, uncertainties, and other factors they might not even be aware of yet. This is standard practice to protect themselves from lawsuits if things do not go as planned. One of the risks they highlight is their ability to actually produce and sell their potential treatments if they get approved. This is a critical hurdle for any biotech company. If you can't make the product reliably or in enough volume, even a successful clinical trial won't translate to a successful business. Another important risk they point out is competition. The medical field is always advancing, and there might be other companies developing similar or even better treatments for the same diseases. Longeveron has to stay ahead of the curve. The filing also includes the actual agreement itself as an exhibit. This is where all the nitty-gritty details are laid out, legally speaking. And to raise a legal opinion from their lawyers, this is usually about the legality of the shares they're planning to issue. It's another layer of assurance for potential investors. Finally, the report is signed by the Chief Executive Officer, then Powell. This is basically the official stamp of approval from the company leadership. It signals that they stand behind the information in this report. So, looking at this filing, Longeveron Inc. is taking a very proactive approach to funding its research and development. They're using a common financial tool, the at-the-market offering, to generate capital for their promising, but still very experimental treatments. The core of their business, and what will ultimately determine their success, hinges on whether laromestrocel can prove safe and effective in clinical trials and gain regulatory approval. The company's strategy is clear: fund the science with flexible, ongoing stock sales. The key risks are the usual suspects in biotech: trial failures, competition, and market acceptance. If their science pans out, this method of funding could be quite efficient. However, if the trials hit roadblocks or a competitor emerges, these stock sales will be less about growth and more about survival. In my opinion, Longeveron is playing a high-risk, high-reward game. Their focus on serious unmet medical needs is commendable, but the path to approval is fraught with challenges. Investors should be aware of the volatile nature of biotech and invest with a long-term perspective. Alright, that is our breakdown of Longeveron Inc. Slate is filing. What is your take on their funding strategy and the potential of laromestrocel? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching, see you next time.